David, you've heard the phrase turning lemons into lemonade,
Sure.
right? Well, one Maine woman is taking that phrase maybe a little too far.
So a woman from Maine.
Oh, yes, a woman from the state of Maine.
Okay.
Instead of lemons into lemonade,
Sure.
She's turning moose turds into cash.
What? Like alchemy?
Kind of. So, Mary Winkenbach?
Where's it written down? Let me check the spelling.
Right there, Winchenbach. I don't
Probably
know.
Pennsylvania Dutch. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Winkenbach.
Okay, probably wrong. She has a
Yeah, you're probably wrong too. Anyway.
one of my variations is probably correct. She started this business called Turdy Works, where essentially she makes art from moose droppings.
What?
Yes. So luckily we have some audio, so we can hear Mary in her own words. Audio courtesy of KJRH TV out of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay. So this is a woman from Maine,
Yes.
and we're talking about moose poop,
Yes.
and a station in Tulsa, Oklahoma picked the story up.
Yes.
Okay.
David, there's not a whole lot going on in Tulsa.
Apparently not. Go across the country to get some moose poop news.
Anyways, so let's hear from Mary's own mouth why she started this business.
Everyone takes a crap. Everyone goes to the bathroom, so everyone can relate to that. And the terms that I use to name these products are everyday terms that, people are used to hearing and stuff. So you just try to, combine the two to come up with something halfway decent that's funny, For example, the first thing that we make now, instead of a cuckoo clock, see, this is a poo-poo clock. And what we did see is we took them turds and we crammed them in between the number there, so that's 132, 33.
So I don't know if we have some kind of presidential medal. I think this baby merits the presidential medal, the freedom. There's something that you got to honor exceptional U.S. citizens with, whatever that is.
I am lightheaded right now. 130, 230, 330. Oh my gosh.
So, okay. What a phenomenal woman. What ingenuity. What creativity. I'm interested to know what else Mary has to offer.
There's more?
Oh, there's more.
Now over here we make fecal people. And depending upon the shape of them middle turds right there, we can do them with big boobs or guts or butts or long legs or short legs. See, because there's no two turds that are ever alike. Have you ever seen a turd, the two turds alike?
So obviously, much more available than the poo-poo clock. You've got the fecal people. And as we know, as Mary has told us, and I think all of us can confirm, no two turds are alike. So, I mean, you can ask for the custom order, but I think you get what you get. Speaking of what, I'm curious about how she sources her material, right?
It sounds like she just goes out to the woods with a pooper scooper. Not a lot of overhead.
Yeah, well, luckily for us, Mary tells us. All right, let's keep listening to Mary.
There's more?
Oh, there's more.
The turds are all local. We just go out and track the moose, and wherever the moose are, they're going to take a crap. And I have found that when a moose takes a dump, you walk about 50 yards in any direction and they take another dump. And when a moose takes a dump, they'll crap out between 200 and 400 turds every time they take a crap. So it's like I get $5 a turd for these things. So I get jumping right up and down. I get excited when I see a turd.
I mean, $5 a turd. I think I'm in the wrong business. If I knew all you had to do was stock moose, keep them well fed and hydrated, and I mean that's her retirement right there, right? I guess you stock the moose, you wait until it's done doing its thing, and then
200 to 400 turds later.
You're rolling in the dew.
Oh.
It's really bad.
Our audience didn't see the video clip of that, but one of my favorite parts of that entire clip was on the bottom left corner was the little Burger King logo.
Oh, gross.
That's all I could look at. It was like Moos turned Burger King, Moos turned Burger King. I'm sure like Burger King PR like called the station was like, get our logo off the Moos poop story now.
Well, I don't know how we're supposed to do this show after that, but
My face hurts, my stomach hurts. Oh my gosh.
let's give it the old college try.
Bro, Moos poop Mary. This is Subjectively Correct Sports, the only podcast in the known universe featuring a couple of guys talking about sports and moose poop. I'm telling you, Moos poop Mary. She's a national treasure. We're going to read about her. Our kids are going to read about her in their history books. My goodness. Hey, guess what, Anthony? It's almost 8:30,
Oh my goodness, it is almost 8:30.
right? Getting a little bit of a late start, but it was worth it for that video clip. My gosh. You can find our show on iTunes and Google Play. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, which I don't think there's anyone in the world after that Moos poop story
No, yeah,
that won't subscribe.
We're gonna ride Mary's coattails.
That's right. That's right. Just the way she rides the Moos poop tails or poop trails. Oh, that would have been better.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. I don't think there's any saving that. So, Anthony, we're lucky I'm here today.
Oh,
'Cause,
yeah. Well,
on the drive-in.
I feel lucky every day you're here.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same.
That was in the script. It
was in the
I
script?
didn't write that. That was weird.
So, wait, it's in the script? It's in the script, but you didn't write it. How did
Yeah.
it get there? So you're saying I wrote it?
I think I'm implying that you wrote that.
Oh, that does sound like the implication. I don't know. That writing was too good to be my writing. I don't think it was me. Anyway, so I'm driving in, right? And I get off the freeway and I'm driving towards your house and I'm at a stoplight and I hear like a sound like Thor's about to land. It sounds like
Okay.
lightning, okay? It's like bzzz, like
Yeah.
electricity sound, that buzzing electricity sound you hear in like TV shows or video games or something that indicates lightning's a coming or there's electricity going somewhere.
Okay.
And I start looking around because the sound doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And to the right of me, like 20 feet away,
Yeah.
I see sparks coming from a power line that's attached to a wooden power pole.
Oh, wow.
And I'm mesmerized by this, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, what is happening here? And it keeps going and it keeps
Yeah.
going, and I think it's got to stop eventually. I'm like, what do? I'm in traffic. I can't just drive somewhere else. I'm
Yeah.
stuck here next to this live electricity arcing right in this power pole. And then the power pole catches on fire.
Oh,
So I do the only thing I could do. The light turned green and I drove away.
right.
I mean, what else do you want? I can't do anything else.
You are not equipped to deal with that situation.
No, I am not. And so I drive away, and I'm like, well, I hope for the best. I'm looking in the rearview mirror, expecting to see like the whole power pole in flames. But I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I can drive that same way home tonight.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you made it. As harrowing as that tale sounds.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. And hopefully you're now at ease. You got a good laugh, a good belly laugh from good Mary.
My face hurts. Saint Mary.
Yeah. And David, it was actually a really good sports weekend, and we've got a really good sports week ahead of us. And October's here. And you know what October means?
Halloween?
Preseason NBA basketball.
Okay, so I went for the Halloween joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went for the preseason basketball joke.
Exactly.
But everyone's actually thinking about NHL preseason.
Gritty.
That's right. Gritty's the delight.
More gritty. No. We're gonna table NBA preseason talk for at least 20 minutes. Okay.
Heaven help me.
What I want to get to first, though, is baseball, because the regular season has ended and the real season is beginning.
That's right. It only took us 162. How many games is it? I got it wrong on my previous episode.
Well, normally it is 162 games.
Right. What did I say?
You had said 156.
Whatever. I was close.
That's close enough. But this season, 4 teams played 163 games. Mm-hmm. So what happened was that the Cubs and the Brewers, who were both in the NL Central, ended up with the same record at the end of the year. And baseball doesn't have like head-to-head tiebreakers for division winners, and so they end up playing an extra game. They played game 163. The Brewers won, so the Brewers, having the best record in the National League and winning their division, will host the winner of the wild card game, which the Cubs are now a participant in. In fact, we're watching it while we record. The Cubs are playing the Rockies, and the Rockies are in the wild card game because they played the Dodgers because they ended up with the same record as the Dodgers. So they played a game 163 as well. The Dodgers won. So how it all shakes out now is you have the Brewers as the 1 seed in the National League. You have the Dodgers as the 2 seed. They're hosting the Braves, who are the 3 seed. And then Cubs 4, Rockies 5. Cubs and Rockies playing right now. The winner goes on, advances to play the Brewers. The loser goes home. 1 game playoff, 1 game elimination. Wildcard games are very exciting. Super stressful as a fan. Luckily, the Dodgers have won their division 6 years in a row, so I haven't had to experience that for a while. But very nerve-wracking when you get down to that single elimination game.
And it's crazy that after 162 games, the separation between 2 teams in the same division was exactly 0 games.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. Baseball's nuts like that. And I'm sure you were just going nuts yesterday because you were at work while the game was going on. And I asked you, can you watch the game at work? And you were like, no, I'm on a conference call.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, bummer.
Yeah. Luckily, I had it pulled up on my phone, the little kind of Gamecast thing. So I was able to check in every once in a while. But as soon as I got in my car to drive home, I flipped it up on the radio. And I don't typically hoot and holler when I'm by myself.
What does that sound like?
Woo! Yeah! Woo! That kind of, something like that.
I was pumped.
I was doing that in my car.
I bet you were.
Hands in the air because the Dodgers were doing well. Cody Bellinger hit a 2-run home run early. Max Muncy followed up with a 2-run home run.
Max Muncy. That funky Muncy. That swing, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the Dodgers ended up winning their game 163, and the playoffs they're all set now. We won't go into each of the matchups because I don't think anyone's tuning in to hear our breakdown of the divisions.
If you want that information, Google it.
Yeah, but I just want to take a look back at this season. Really, just a couple of things looking back and looking forward. So one of my favorite stats from this regular season, this baseball regular season, is about Chris Davis. He's the DH for the Oakland A's, the Athletics. So he's a home run hitter, right? He does not bat for average, okay? But he's maybe the most consistent baseball player ever.
Okay, but you just said he doesn't hit for average.
No, but his average doesn't change from year to year.
What do you mean?
He batted .247 for the 4th straight year. So 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015, each of those years, his batting average was .247.
Get out of here.
Meaning out of every 1,000 at-bats, he hit the ball 247 times. Each of those 4 years. And the year before that, it was .244.
No way.
His career batting average is .248. So this guy is basically within like 4 1,000ths of a percentage for his batting average every year.
That is, when you go into contract negotiations with Chris Davis, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get 247 and 30 home runs, right? That's what you're going to get every year.
No, he's incredible, and of his, he had, I don't know exactly how many hits he had this past year. I think it was like 148 or something like that. But he had 48 home runs. He averaged a home run every 3rd hit. Okay,
that is today's Major League Baseball. That's what that is. They've realized that a single is not as valuable as a home run.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? And they also realize that in a lot of cases, especially when there are runners on bases, a flyout is better than a double play, right? So these guys like Chris Davis are like, you know what? I'm not going to get a lot of hits, but I'm going to focus on the most valuable hit. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Warriors and the Rockets shooting a shot that's worth more points.
Yeah.
So they're altering the math. And so we're altering the math of baseball at the same time where we're saying, okay, tell you what, don't get a double, don't get a single, just hit the ball over the fence. And Chris Davis is like, okay, but tell you what, I'll only do it 1/3 of the time.
Yeah. Well,
1/3 of my hits, not 1/3 of the time. That would be amazing. That's Barry Bonds stuff right there.
Yeah, he had 142 hits on the season, 48 of which were home runs, and then 175 strikeouts.
Whoa.
All right. So he's striking out more often than he's hitting, but when he's hitting, it's a very productive hit.
Right. And that's
a lot of the
happening
time.
and that's happening all over the major leagues too. So
Yeah.
I think for the first time ever we had 3 players in the same year get over 200 strikeouts. But in that same year we have the Yankees breaking the record or the Red Sox breaking the record for the most home runs in a year by a team.
Yeah, it's interesting how analytics progresses, right? So for anyone who's read the book or seen the movie Moneyball, the premise of it was that there was value in players who had high on-base percentage, right? And these weren't necessarily like the marquee players, and so they weren't getting big contracts, so there was an inefficiency in the market. And so you could sign these players pretty cheaply while still getting a lot of production out of them because the A's were looking at factors like walks and singles and hit by pitch and things that would lead, how disciplined a player is at the plate versus how many home runs he's hitting. Their theory was that if you're on base more, you'll score more. And it seems like at least there's a strain of analytics that's saying, yeah, on base percentage is good and may lead to more runs, but what will definitely lead to more runs are home runs.
Right, that makes sense. That was the next step, right?
Yeah.
And the important thing for the Oakland Athletics at that time, the Oakland A's at that time, was that they didn't have a lot of money to give. Mm-hmm. So baseball is not salary capped, right? So a small market team was like, okay, we can't go for the big name players and the big money players. Let's just get as efficient as we can with our money. And that's what they did. And that's what salary cap teams do all the time. So NBA and NFL teams, like the Patriots are amazing at this. They don't go for the best player. They go for the best value.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And so that's what the A's did, except they were doing it in a non-salary cap sport, right?
Yeah. And we have to be careful. It's not what the A's did. It's what the A's do.
Yeah.
Because they still have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. In fact, Billy Beane, their general manager, he was approached by a reporter this week, and the reporter asked him, do you know that your payroll is less than the Red Sox luxury tax? To which Billy Beane just laughed, right? But it's true. The A's are I think somewhere in the 65, 68 million dollars for their payroll, and the Red Sox have over $200 million in payroll, and a good chunk is going to luxury tax. It's greater than the A's payroll.
That's crazy. And so what the Red Sox did, what finally put them over that 100 plus year curse, was they took Billy Beane's ideas and concepts, but threw millions and millions of dollars more money at it, right?
Yeah.
So this Moneyball idea suddenly had a bunch of money behind it.
Yeah.
And then the Red Sox break the curse. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing happens where? Chicago. So that's how these curses get broken. They look at the analytics, they take these numbers, and they really figure them out, these cybermetrics, right? Mm-hmm. And then they throw millions and millions of dollars at them, and we get these teams that break these curses and that win.
Yeah, and so you see a team like the A's. They have the formula down, but they don't have the money, right? And so every few years they make a really good run. They made the playoffs this year. They're in the wild card game against the Yankees in the American League, and so they'll get to the playoffs every few years. But it's hard to maintain that level of play if you don't have if you're not ponying up for these big time players who produce consistently at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now please talk about Max Muncy.
Okay.
Please talk about Max Muncy.
Max Muncy, he's first baseman for the Dodgers. He's not an everyday player. He really mostly plays when there's a right-handed pitcher. He'll come in and pinch hit as well if a lefty starts, but then a righty comes in to relieve. So he's playing in most of the games at some point, but he primarily plays first base, and then when they play American League, he'll DH.
That swing.
He has a really, really pretty swing. If you watch the Home Run Derby, it's super repeatable. He did really well there. And he wasn't known as a home run hitter before this year. In fact, he wasn't even really known before this year.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere to me.
Speaking of the A's, he was on the A's, in the A's organization. He played in 2015 and 2016 for the A's. I think he hit like 3 home runs one year, 2 home runs the next year. But then he was cut at the end of spring training in 2017 and was on his couch. I mean, this guy was just like at home wondering if his baseball career was over at age 26. And this is one of the awesome things about sports. There are so many great athletes and so few opportunities for them. And so there are there are athletes out there that have the capacity to be stars in leagues that just don't get the opportunity or don't peak at the right time, and so we never hear of them. Max Muncy was on track to be one of those guys. Even though he made it to the majors, he really didn't have an impact at all. He was cut. He was at home. The Dodgers, somehow, they seem to do this every year. They did this last year with Chris Taylor. They find a guy who didn't work out somewhere, and they give him a shot.
I'm sure what happened is someone saw a slow motion capture of his swing and said, why is this guy sitting on a couch? He should be swinging the bat and hitting home runs for us every day.
Yeah. And
so, yes. Swing.
So they gave him a contract, and he got a little bit of run early on because the Dodgers had some injuries, and he just kept hitting home runs. In fact, he hits a home run every 11.3 at-bats, give or take, which leads Major League Baseball. He would probably be the home run leader if he played every day. Although that average may go down because he tends not to face left-handed pitchers who he struggles against. But when he's in, he's productive, and he's hit 35 home runs this year, and he's a big part of why the Dodgers are in the postseason and why they won the NL West.
Well, he's had big home runs, not just in the tiebreaker game. He hit a big home run.
Yeah.
And leading up to the tiebreaker game, he hit a couple of big home runs, didn't he? Or at least one big home run.
Yeah, no, he's been a major factor in their September run, especially late September when they swept the Rockies, and they really put some they closed the gap on both the Rockies and the Diamondbacks before the Diamondbacks fell away.
And you know how they did it? Max Muncy's gorgeous swing.
Among other things.
That swing, man.
Yeah. One other thing about baseball this year that I don't think we can not talk about. It's Christian Yelich. You may not have heard of him because he's not playing for a major team.
He played in Miami, so
he played in Miami, where good things go to die, and if you're already there, even Giancarlo Stanton, he was the MVP last year, right? Yes,
he was. Yep.
But the only reason he was on SportsCenter was because he was hitting monster home runs, right? If he were just a really good player, we wouldn't have really cared because he was on the Marlins.
But he was hit 50 home runs, which is rare these days.
Yeah.
He hit 50 home runs, won the NL MVP, and then the new general manager and president of baseball operations, Derek Jeter, a former Yankee, sends him where? The Yankees in a trade. Like, that didn't look suspicious at all. Anyway, once a Yankee, always a Yankee, right? Cap.
So if you remember, at the beginning or in last offseason, the Marlins, like David was just saying, they got new ownership, new management, and they shipped out all their best talent. Giancarlo Stanton and Christian Yelich and several others. Well, Yelich, everyone knew he was a good young player. And in fact, I was, rooting for the Dodgers to trade for him. I was even hoping they'd give up, not hoping they'd give up, but I would be okay with them giving up some of their top young prospects because just because of what I had read about this guy and watching some highlights of him. Well, he had an okay first half of the season with the Brewers, but something happened prior to the All-Star break, starting the second half, and he turned into the National League MVP, which he will win. I don't think there's any question. He's going to win. David, listen to some of these second half stats.
If you insist.
Okay. Batting average for the second half of 2018, 367.
Whoa.
Okay. Home runs, 25.
Wow.
Runs, 58. RBI, 67. Walks, 35. Basically, in every major statistical category, he'd be first. Right?
In the second half.
In the second half. And for the year, for the National League, I think he's first in batting average, second in RBI, and second in home runs.
Yeah, he was real close to winning. It came down to the very last game. It came down to game 163 as to who was going to be the leader in these categories. He almost won the Triple Crown.
Yeah, it's to the point where he gets up to bat, and you just kind of pencil in that he's going to get on base.
He definitely has a good at-bat every time.
Yeah, there's really no wasted at-bats with him. So he's really fun. It makes me sad that he's in the National League and not on the Dodgers because the Dodgers will likely face him in the playoffs if they intend to move on to the World Series. I imagine they're going to play the Braves. The Braves are playing really good baseball right now. We'll see how they do when the rosters go down to 25 men. This is kind of like for baseball nerds, but for some reason in September, the rosters expand to 40 players. So the managers have a lot more players to choose from. Generally, it's a 25-man roster. The rosters go back down to 25 in the playoffs. And so managers can't be as, aggressive with their bullpen. They can't just throw out relievers for one batter at a time like they'll often do in September. And they can't platoon as much with the infielders. This is maybe boring, but I think much of the success of the Brewers in September was because they had a lot of arms and players to choose from. But that advantage will go away in September, so it'll be interesting to watch.
I'm excited for the real baseball season to start. I'm really excited. I'm not excited for the barrage of LA centered tweets and messages I'm about to get. But whatever.
Yeah, if the Dodgers get swept or don't do well and they don't make it out of the first round, I'm gonna be totally silent on it. But if they do well, I'm gonna hit you up.
It's all I'm
basically
hear about.
Every hour on the hour.
Yeah, I'm gonna be teaching my class. My phone's gonna be going off like crazy, and it's gonna be a bunch of annoying Dodgers texts and tweets.
One weird thing though about the postseason schedule, they released a schedule. I think it was last night or maybe early this morning, and some of these divisional games they have starting at 1 o'clock local time, 3 p.m. local time, and they do that so that each game gets its own 2.5, 3 hours, so that there's no overlap among the games, so that the stations are the only ones running the game at the time, right? And I guess that's okay, except for if you are a fan of, for example, the Houston Astros play this Friday at 1 p.m. 1:05 p.m. So if you're in Houston and you want to support your team and you've got a job,
if you work for your money,
you're taking off Friday afternoon, maybe. But if you can't get it off, you can't watch your team, right?
You're doing what Anthony did. You're on an important conference call and you're watching for updates on your phone.
Yeah, and so this only really is a factor in the first round of the playoffs, but
because there are so many games.
There's a lot of games, but why does it need to be this way? I mean, baseball is really, I think it still is a regional sport until you get to the league championship series.
Yeah, most markets are regional markets still. Very few teams are national teams in baseball these days.
And so I don't think it's a big deal to have multiple games going on at the same time so that these games are played at night so that the local fans can actually go to the ballpark and support their team, or if not, at least just watch the team on TV. I don't know. It feels like baseball thinks it's a national sport when it's not really, especially at this stage, right? When it gets to the World Series, definitely, but at that point, you're not competing with any other games. So
right. Well, I feel like that was enough baseball talk. Can we get to one of our favorite segments?
I'll allow it.
Okay, let's go. Let's move on to one of our favorite segments, and that segment is
Sneaky Good Golfer of the Week.
All right, I love Sneaky Good Golfer of the Week, and I think I'll go with my nominee for Sneaky Good Golfer, if that's okay, Anthony.
Okay.
Okay, we had a little bit of a debate about who the Sneaky Good Golfer of the Week was this week. Okay,
Yep.
But my nominee for Sneaky Good Golfer of the Week is Europe.
Europe, but of course. That's French.
Oh, is that what that was?
That was French.
Okay, because I couldn't tell.
Okay, yeah, it was. You don't speak French.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
so that threw me off because I don't speak French.
That was French.
So anyway, Europeans are better at golf than Americans.
They were this week.
Well, I think history has shown that they're just better.
Yeah, they invented it. They have a few hundred years on us, right?
In everything.
That's true. That's why we're not good soccer players.
Right, but we do have a few hundred years on them in being awesome. So we got that going for us.
Mm-hmm. And space travel.
Yeah, take that, Europe. Have you been to Space Europe? I don't think so.
So the U.S. lost the Ryder Cup again. It seems to happen on every time they play.
Roughly.
Yeah, approximately every time.
I don't care enough to look it up, though.
I didn't either.
Okay, next segment.
One thing golf related though is that, and it's not an excuse for them losing, but there was some infighting among the U.S. squad.
Were they infighting because they were losing, though?
No, in fact, actually, the reports were that Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, a former sneaky good golfer of the week,
right?
They were fighting on the way over. So there was some fight, and there was fighting among who was paired with who. Patrick Reed was upset because he wasn't paired with Jordan Spieth. It was just really weird. It seemed like it was kind of a toxic environment for the team. I don't know that really affected play, but why are we getting so upset about the Ryder Cup? I mean, I don't know. It's not a big deal to me. It's probably a big deal to them, but...
Stop your whining and win a golf thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Just stop your whining and win a golf thing.
Swing better.
I mean...
Hit the ball where, towards the hole and then in the hole eventually. Faster than you did the last time.
Stop whining and win the... I can't even speak. Stop whining and win the Ryder Cup. Nailed it?
Bubble Waltos.
Thanks. All right, so I have my hot take minute that we do every week.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a fan favorite. And when I say fan favorite, I mean it's our fans' favorite, our fan's favorite.
But it's the fans' favorite.
Yeah, it's the fans' favorite segment. It's my favorite segment. Where I'm excited to introduce a new segment that is just for Anthony called Fantastic Headlines of the Week. Anthony, are you ready with your fantastic headlines?
No, I'm not.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right.
This is the workshop edition.
Should we do that live? Should we make... Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's just go. Okay, ready? This is... What?
I feel like I need to explain what's happening here.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, okay. As you've come to expect, we often start the show and end the show with some kind of funny or odd news story, right?
Moose poop.
And you all know how hard I work scouring the internet for these interesting stories to tell you.
Like a dog with a bone.
I don't know what that means.
You dig.
Oh, good. Okay. And often there are 5, 6, 15 stories that I would just love to share, but they either get put to the side for the next week or forgotten, and I never get to tell them to you.
It sounds like you're never going to get to tell these today.
So... what I'm going to try to do here is just give you some of these headlines, maybe a little bit of color to them, but there are so many awesome stories that we just can't get to every show, so I just wanted to run through those.
So these are like the honorable mention
Yes.
crazy news stories of the week?
Yes, that's right.
So could you have just said that?
David.
Okay, and now, for the first time ever, and hopefully the last, just kidding.
Wow.
I want to do this every week.
Actual headlines.
Yes. Okay, Anthony's fantastic headlines of the week.
Deputies round up escaped camel in Illinois. Actually, that one sadly ended with the camel's death.
No.
That's true.
Well, it's in Illinois. I imagine it's not its native environment.
Rock thrown at bulletproof glass hits burglar in the face.
Please tell me he was the rock thrower.
Yes, he used a rock to break into a store or bank, I can't remember, and then went up to the front counter, threw the rock at the glass, and it bounced back and hit him in the face. He was laying on the ground for a few minutes. Police are still searching for him. Book order takes 20 years for delivery. Okay, this is a really cool story. This grandma, she was like 60 at the time, ordered a set of Dr. Seuss books for her 4-year-old grandchild. They got lost in the mail for 20 years. Okay, they just showed up, and she now is able to read them to her great-grandchild, who's 5. Don't do the math.
I'm not going to.
Injured turtle gets Lego wheelchair.
Did he build his own wheelchair? That was my first question. If he did, this needs to be a main story we read.
No, apparently someone at the zoo was like a Lego enthusiast.
A master builder.
And this turtle had a cracked portion of its shell and couldn't put any like weight on it, and so they made a wheelchair out of Legos.
Dope.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna be hearing from PETA soon. I'm sure there's some kind of violation there, uproar. Okay.
Or Lego.
Yeah, or Lego. Parakeet found stuck in cupboard at IKEA store.
Okay, one. The owner of the parakeet was probably in IKEA?
Maybe.
Is it a runaway parakeet?
Yeah. This is the problem with animals. They don't speak English, so you can't know why they do the things they do.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Woman sets Guinness surfing record for shredding 68-foot wave. Okay, Google this. It's a Brazilian surfer, 68-foot wave. It's massive. It looks like she's going to die.
I don't mean to laugh at her
That
dying.
made you laugh.
I'm sorry, no. It's just because we've seen videos of these giant surfer things before, and just they're so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can't help but laugh at them because it is insane.
No, it is crazy.
They look like they're moving so fast.
Yeah, and the wave almost gets her several times. It's a really cool video. Check it out. Truck tows bale of hay on fire in Kansas.
I don't see how that's a news story. It sounds like Kansas to me.
In other news, Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
No, but here's the funny thing about it is this story was reported because someone who was driving saw the truck pass with this bale of hay in a trailer on fire, like a big fire, and they're recording it the whole time. And they were quoted as saying, the driver looked at me kind of funny. I don't think he knew that his trailer was on fire.
Want to know why? Because Kansas.
Yeah, but that's like so 2018, right? It's not like, oh, look, there's a guy whose trailer's on fire, I should go help him. It's, let me record this. Oh, weird, he doesn't even know. And then the guy just like keeps on driving. He's like laughing in the video.
Help a brother out. His bale of hay is on fire.
Woman crafts wedding dress from 40 empty cement bags.
Are there pictures to...
There are pictures. She tied them together intricately. It's in China. I don't think she was like super poor. I don't think it was like out of necessity. I think it was more of like an artistic expression for some reason. But they call her like the Cement Empress or something like that. So she's apparently gained some notoriety for it in China. And then finally, seal slaps kayaker with octopus. This story was actually sent to us by my sister-in-law, David's sister, Lisa.
Shout out, Lisa.
And it's actually a really funny video. The seal and octopus were fighting to the death. I think the seal wanted to eat the octopus. Octopus maybe wanted to eat the seal. Either way, they're fighting. The seal gets a hold of it and flings it. And one of the tentacles of the octopus slaps a kayaker right across the face.
And it looks like the seal slapped the kayaker on purpose. It looked like his whole purpose in grabbing that octopus was to slap that guy, give him a little octopus slap right in the face.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It's great. Are you wondering how to end this segment?
And scene.
Perfect.
I don't know.
And scene.
Those were the funny, fantastic stories. I wish we could have got to in more depth this week, but it didn't quite make the cut.
I like it. Hey, maybe we'll do it again next week.
Yeah. You know what did make the cut this week, though?
Huh.
NFL.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I'm going to start the NFL talk with Chiefs Broncos from last night, the Monday night game.
Okay.
That was so exciting. So Patrick Mahomes, he seems like he's for real.
Mahomies.
Yeah. What? Huh?
Rolling with Mahomies.
No, don't.
Home sweet homes.
Home sweet? Mick Holmes, maybe?
Mick Holmes?
Sorry, there's a C in there. That's my bad. Anyway.
Patrick. That was Irish.
Oh.
In case you don't speak it.
Yeah, I don't speak Irish, so that's good. Thank you. Yeah. But he looked really good in a very tough environment. For some reason, in Denver, not for some reason, obviously home field advantage, Denver's defense shows up at home. They're one of the toughest home defenses to play against, man. Mm-hmm. With Von Miller and other pass rushers and things like that. They disguise their blitzes and disguise their coverages so well. You figure a young quarterback who's pretty new to the league is going to struggle against a defense that hides their blitzes and hides their coverages really well, and the Broncos are always great at that. Remember years ago when they would all line up like it was a punt? And they're like 9 guys level with the line of scrimmage, and then they just all spread out like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they do stuff like that still. Not quite like that, but similar types of stuff to hide packages. But Mahomes handled it very well. He handled it really, really well. He was able to lead a comeback and get the Chiefs a W. And so that was really impressive by him. But I mostly want to talk about the play at the end on 4th and 10 when the Broncos try for a hook and ladder. Okay, so they tried for hook and ladder.
Right, yeah.
And there was about 16 seconds left when the player would have caught the ball.
Right.
So he goes to make the catch. He makes a kind of clean catch, and he goes to make the pitch. But as he's making the pitch, a defender from Kansas City gets his hands in there, knocks the ball away. It goes down to the ground. The Chiefs recovered it, but it wasn't a fumble. They rule it an incomplete pass. Either way, turnover on downs, and the Chiefs win. And what drives me nuts about this is everybody's so ready to play the result. It didn't work, therefore it was a bad decision. But if it goes the other way and the hook and ladder works and they score a touchdown, which they would have if they would have completed that pitch, Vance Joseph, the Broncos coach, is a hero. And I'm really shooting myself in the foot here because I think this is like a major part of Dave Sautek Minute. But whatever, you'll get it twice. But if it works, he's a hero. If it doesn't work, he's a dum-dum.
Yeah.
And it's like we need to stop playing the result. Was it a good decision based off of the decision, the play call itself? And I think it was a good call. It was the right call. They needed a touchdown.
Yeah.
What better time to pull a play out like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I don't think it was a bad move to try it. I think there was enough time to go down, spike the ball, and get one more shot at the end zone, maybe. There is a chance though the clock runs out. So, and when you're playing in the moment, I mean, I've never played professional sports, but even just playing like high school sports, you don't always have exact awareness of how much time's left on the clock, how far you need to go to get a first down. Like, you don't have that yellow line on the field when you're playing. You don't have a clock in your field of vision all the time. So, he could have thought there were 5 seconds left. It's hard to know. So I don't blame him for doing that.
But as a player, the clock was stopped. They called this play in the huddle. So as a player, at that point, you're just doing what your coach calls, right?
Yeah.
So the coach's job, it's not the player's job to know how much time is left on the clock all the time. That's the quarterback and whatever. The receiver gets to play as quickly as he can. He goes and he runs that play, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But what I liked about the play call was it showed a lot of guts. And if it worked, it would have been the call of the year. Vance Joseph would be like, oh, is he the coach of the year and stuff? Because he finally beat the mighty Kansas City Chiefs. But we're busy playing the results. But I think it was the right call.
And if there's any blame, it's on Case Keenum for totally overthrowing Demaryius Thomas on the play before. He had him in full stride, no defender within 5 yards. He's like 8 yards from the end zone. If he would have caught it, easy touchdown, game over.
And this dude's like 6'7". It's hard to overthrow him.
He just overthrew him.
Yeah, so and I think this shows Case Keenum did amazing things with the Vikings, but the Vikings have some of the best skill guys in the league, especially at wide receiver. So Case Keenum, while the Broncos were all excited to get him, we just saw what Case Keenum's about. He's gonna miss throws that he has to make. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I didn't love the. I'm kind of a closet Broncos fan because my dad grew up in Denver and stuff, but whatever. So I was kind of grumpy by that, but it was cool to see Mahomes do cool things. Like his left-handed throw, you remember that? He was scrambling to the left. He was scrambling to the left. They got a hold of his right hand or something, so he throws it left-handed better than I could have thrown it right-handed at that time, and made a huge play for a completion. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, they were closing in on him, and he didn't have time to kind of set his feet and turn his body so that he can make a right-handed throw. So he shot put it with his left hand to Tyreek Hill and got a first down. It was an amazing play. The weird thing about watching that game? Joe Tessitore was calling it.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's a great announcer, but for the longest time, and I think for long-term sports fans, you associate him with boxing. He's the ESPN boxing voice. Okay. And growing up, I played this game called Fight Night. It was a boxing game, and it was his voice. And so anytime I hear his voice, I instantly am put on high alert because I'm in Fight Night mode, right?
That virtual fight or flight response is in total fight mode, and you're ready to box somebody.
Yeah, I'm ready to throw a right hook. I'm ready to bob and weave.
But you're actually sitting there holding your baby, watching Patrick Mahomes.
That's right. So it's a very confusing experience for me to listen to Joe Tessitore as I watch football. It just doesn't. There's some of the synapses aren't quite connecting there.
Okay, speaking of synapses not connecting, so Earl Thomas hasn't connected very well with his team this year, right?
Yeah.
So there was a little situation where he's running to defend a pass, and he hits his shin on somebody or something and breaks his leg. Yeah. And he's on the ground. He's upset because if you follow the situation a little bit, he wanted to either get an extension, so he wanted to stay in Seattle and get an extension, or get traded.
Yeah, he's on the last year of his deal, right?
And so he was hoping to get something like that done. The Seahawks were like, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to hang on to you. And so he was upset at the situation. He didn't practice for a while. He wanted to hold out and things like that. It was a really tense situation. Mm-hmm. So as they're carting him off next to the Chiefs sideline, because that's the side he was on. So they're carting him off next to the Chiefs sideline. The Chiefs patting him on the shoulder pads and stuff like that. And he flips his own sideline, the middle finger.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of tension there, right? A little bit of tension. And I see both sides of this. I see the Seahawks saying, see, that's why we didn't pay you. And Earl Thomas is going, see, that's why I was holding out.
Yeah.
And it's such a crappy situation for these NFL players because I feel like they're super powerless. And I feel like these NFL owners have all the power in this situation. Mm-hmm. And Le'Veon Bell is taking this up as a battle cry. And he's like, see, this is why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing this for future players. Which I think sounds like a noble stance, but ask any Pittsburgh Steelers fan how they feel about Le'Veon Bell and his holdout, and they won't see it as noble as he does.
Yeah, it's kind of a lose-lose situation for the player. Because if they hold out and they get their money, like you were saying, they're not the team player.
Yeah, and if they do hold out, and if the whole league holds out, like if the whole league sits out and strikes or whatever, they don't benefit. Future players and future generations benefit from it. So they're going to lose out on all their money for the hope that future players get paid.
Yeah. And I wish there was a simple solution to this. I thought about like ways you can adequately compensate these players, because it's not as bad as some other sports where you don't really get paid until later, much later in your career. Like in baseball, you can almost reach like age 30 before you're really making good money, and by then your production really starts to dip.
Albert Pujols is a great example of that.
But in baseball, the contracts are guaranteed, so when you get your money, you keep your money. In football, many contracts are not guaranteed, and so if you get injured in the final year of your deal, like an Earl Thomas, or you just don't play very well, you signed a 4-year deal and in year 2 you're not playing well, the team can release you and they don't owe you any more money. There's some exceptions to that, but so I thought, what about like a merit-based system where everyone had like a base salary, I don't know, $1 million, and then depending on your position and your stats and other criteria, you had performance incentives, and maybe each team sets that, maybe it's a league decision, in conjunction with the Players Association. So that's like one idea, is completely merit based, and all at the end of the year you have, each team would still have to pay out. They call it the 89% rule. Each team would still have to pay out 89% of the salary cap of the salary cap. Right?
So at that point, you just allocate whatever's left evenly amongst your players.
Either that, or you do it pro rata based on what they had accumulated to that point, right? And so some kind of merit-based system. But then you get into issues where players are being more self-oriented than team-oriented.
Yeah, because that's not happening.
So you might have a quarterback audibling what would have been a draw to I'm gonna throw into the flats, right? And I'm gonna dunk it off, right? And let the guy run 70 yards, and so I can get paid, right?
Right.
Or I'm gonna lead a receiver, into a horrible tackle, but I want that extra reception on my stats. And so you could have some perverse incentives there where players are more self-interested than team interested. So merit-based may not work entirely.
Well, I think of like Julio Jones, for example, who's on pace to get over 2,000 yards receiving this season, but scores 0 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if I were Julio Jones, I would be like, no, you got to pay me per yard. But that's not the way the Falcons set it up. The Falcons like per touchdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that gets to really difficult, hairy situation.
Yeah. So that was option one, and I think there's a lot of problems with it, but it could be worked out. Now, number two, and I don't know exactly how this NFL salary cap works, all the ins and outs of it. But one thing is that most of these contracts are not guaranteed, right? So what if, and it's not like any of these NFL owners are losing money, right? So this would cost the NFL owners a little bit of money, more money than they're giving it up right now. But I think it would do so much to improve relationships between the players and the owners. If you guarantee every contract was guaranteed, and how you could help the team, because what their fear is that if it's guaranteed, this is such an injury-prone league, what if, a third or a quarter of my roster's injured and I'm already at the salary, I've maxed out on the salary cap.
Yeah, you can't get more guys.
And so my proposal would be is that any guaranteed money doesn't count against the cap for purposes of injured or released players.
So once a player is injured or released, the team is still obligated per contract to pay that player, but it doesn't count towards the salary cap.
That's right.
I'm impressed that I got that because I was busy watching a guy get thrown out at second base by a Cubs outfielder. That was amazing.
We've got the Cubs-Rockies wildcard game on.
Yeah, right now it's 1-0 Rockies in the top of the 7th.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting game here.
Yeah, and so what this does is it alleviates some of the concern that you have where...
Oh, you're still talking about football?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
Where
look at that throw.
We may not want to give this money to players
Chris
because
Bryant pegged him in the air too. That was like from the left field wall. Good tag. Nice play, man. And that was an important one too because it's a 1-run game. That was clutch. That was a clutch double play right there. Anyway, you were saying?
I think we can move on.
Man, he started to slide pretty early. Anyway, he probably knew he was out.
Mm-hmm. This is a great segment.
Well, it was until you went on and on about football contracts.
I think that was interesting. What something that came up over the weekend.
Oh, no, they're going to review it. No, old guy's going to look at a computer for a second. Oh, this is the worst. Baseball reviews take forever.
Okay.
They take Don't turn it off.
I turned the game off.
Oh.
Okay, so something interesting that happened over the weekend. There were a few instances where the coaches had the decision of whether to go for it or not on fourth down. And I wanted to highlight two games in particular. The Titans versus Eagles and Colts versus Texans. So in the Titans versus Eagles game, the Titans were down 23-20 in overtime. They had a 4th and 2 from the Eagles' 32. Right, so they had 32 yards to go for a touchdown. They were in field goal range, and Mike Vrabel, the head coach, sent out the field goal unit. But then he had a change of heart. He called a timeout. He called back the field goal unit and decided to go for it. And they converted a pass.
Oh, they were Vrabel to do it.
Yes. Converted a pass and ended up scoring a touchdown to win 26-23. Titans are 3-1. Vrabel's doing a heck of a job with this team. I think a lot of people are impressed. They're leading the division right now.
Wait, the AFC South though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But still.
Yeah. Okay.
But still, versus they're overperforming their expectations. Okay. But the decision was: do you go for the field goal and tie in overtime, or do you go for the win? And they chose, in that situation, 4th and 2 from the Eagles' 32, to go for the win, and they took down defending Super Bowl champs. All right, Colts versus Texans. There were two instances in overtime of going for it or not going for it on fourth down. First one, Colts and Texans were tied 31-31 in overtime, and the Colts had also a 4th and 2 from the Texans' 26.
So definitely within field goal range.
Definitely within field goal range. 4th and 2, they only needed 2 yards to get the first down. They decided to kick the field goal and go up 34-31. The field goal was good. The Texans then had the ball on their possession. They also kicked a field goal. So now we're tied 34-34. On the Colts' second possession, they had a 4th and 4 from their own 43. Okay? So which means they were on their side of the field. They still had 57 yards to get a touchdown.
That was good, quick math.
Thank you. Now, where they didn't decide to go for it, 4th and 2 from the Texans' 26, they do decide to go for it, 4th and 4 from their own 43. They go for it. They do not convert. The Texans have the ball with 24 seconds to go. They get a big pass play, gain 25 yards, kick a field goal on the next play to win the game as time expires. Okay. Now, I don't fault anyone for going for it on 4th and short. There's a formula. We won't get into it that much, but there's a formula. New York Times, other organizations have put out different analyses on when you should go for it on 4th down, and it's more often than you think.
Like Madden.
Like on Madden, yeah.
Like, do you ever punt when you play Madden?
Yeah. Essentially, if you're on your side of the field, almost always you're going to go for it unless it's like 4th and very long. Okay?
That makes sense because it's like decent field. It's difficult field position for the other team anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well try your luck and go for it.
Yeah. And so what again, I'm not going to fault the Colts for going for it on 4th and 4 from their own 43. That actually is one circumstance where like the simulation says you should not go for it, but it's very close. The simulation actually has on a 4th and 4, you can go for it if you're inside your own 45. So they were 2 yards outside of it.
According to this formula.
To this formula. Okay, what I do fault the Colts for is inconsistency. Okay? If you have a 4th and 2 from the Texans' 26, you're that close to the end zone, and a touchdown will win it in overtime, why is the thinking different for that 4th and 2 than it was for the 4th and 4? Because a 4th and 4 with 20-something seconds left to go, the chances of scoring are minimal. You may as well just punt it and make the Texans march the entire length of the field, or at least until field goal range.
Right.
And so the inconsistency is what bothers me here.
And that makes perfect sense to me. And I wish more teams would go for the win. I wish more teams would do what the Broncos did. Because they had just as good of a chance of converting that hook and ladder as they did to get that 10 yards and spike it and then run another play to get it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I wish more teams would go for it. I just wish they would be smarter about it. Because those 2 yards, that would have changed the game for the Colts. Right?
Yeah, and what you're saying is you trust your defense to stop the Texans from getting a field goal. If I have the choice between Andrew Luck getting 2 yards and my defense holding the Texans to like less than 50 yards, I'm going to go with Andrew Luck getting the 2 yards.
Yeah,
every time.
For sure.
Okay, listener, it's that time of the week that you've been waiting for, that I've been waiting for, because I get to check out for a minute. It's Dave's Hot Take Minute. Ready, David?
Ready.
Would you like to take a few minutes to explain what we're doing here?
No, I would not.
Okay. On your mark, get set, go.
Broncos coach Vance Joseph made a gutsy call that has made him a talking point. If it works, we celebrate him as the coach we want all coaches to be. It doesn't because a defender happened to get his hand in there at just the right time and we question him for a week. Sometimes the correct choice doesn't work out. That doesn't mean it was the wrong choice. Max Muncy's swing is the second most beautiful thing I saw yesterday. My wife is the most beautiful thing I saw yesterday. By a lot. Muncy's swing, though. Ugh. Love you, sweetheart. I was talking to Max Muncy's swing. Kyrie Irving is finally coming around. Coming around. Speaking of basketball less than smartness, Malik Monk of the Hornets took off his warm-ups at the scorer's table before checking in and realized he forgot to put his jersey on. He had to go back to the locker room to get it. That will ruin the coach's planned rotations. Remember the Kawhi laugh? It was such... Basically, It was such a sensation that Kawhi was asked questions about it. He did not laugh or even smile when he responded. When he plugs himself in at night, does he dream? We probably heard the last ever Kawhi laugh. It was like the last member of a species calling out for a mate. No response came. So the species died there, cold and alone on a windswept plain. Maybe Steven Spielberg could write and direct a movie about getting the DNA from that dead laugh and resurrecting it by combining it with the DNA from a Kyle Lowry laugh. Warning.
What?
Warning. Object and mirror are less fun than they say they are.
I don't know what's going on.
The Browns are back. Which means Spider 2Y Banana got his first win as the coach of the Raiders. Tell you what, man. Winning football is tough, man. The coach the Raiders are paying $10 million a year is on pace to go 4-12, which means he's on pace to get paid $2.5 million per win. If Bill Belichick were paid at the same per win rate over the last 8 seasons, he would have gotten $30 million a year. Solo was an amazing movie. Star Wars fans who don't like it are like the people that complain about missing 8 tracks in their cars. And Anthony, this might be my hottest take ever. All of the Star Wars movies are good. Yes, all of them. Are they perfect? No. But hey, your kids aren't perfect and you still love them. Jim Harbaugh and Nick Saban know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I need time to prepare for the monsoon of irrational LA sports fandom about to crash into my life with the force of a JaVale McGee missed dunk attempt. Because that storm is coming hard.
Well done. I don't think I got all of that, but maybe on a re-listen. That was good. And I have to agree. Max Muncy's swing is beautiful.
Ugh, so beautiful.
Okay, I'm not going to hit you over the head with this LA stuff, okay? Yeah, LeBron James played his first game
and you
as
texted
a Laker.
me about it as he was being announced. You texted me about it.
Yeah, there were some sweet passes from LeBron to his teammates.
That was awesome. That pass, that little slip pass he gave inside for that dunk, that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was when he was on the floor, everyone was like 10 times better than they otherwise would have been, but I'm not going to overact. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen, David.
There it is.
The greatest.
With the force of a JaVale McGee bricked dunk, here it comes.
No.
I'm backing away from the microphone.
Showtime is back. Okay. No. This is like, this can't be back because this has never been seen before. Okay? Whatever's going to happen this season with the Lakers, I am in deep May playoff mode right now.
You don't say.
Yeah, I'm not going to say June because I'm not going to say we're going to win the finals. Give me another week or two. I might work my way into that.
Heaven help me.
When LeBron James hit his first basket as a Laker, three-pointer, I did stand up. I didn't jump. I was holding a baby.
That's funny because neither JaVale McGee can't jump either.
No, not true.
Yes, I saw the alley-oop.
Not true.
The alley-oop. Okay.
He changes the geometry of the game, David.
How? Explain yourself. What do you mean by that?
That's not my quote. That's a Rob Pelinka, general manager of the Lakers.
The guy who looks like Chris Traeger from Parks and Rec.
Yes, the Rob Lowe impersonator.
Yes.
He when they signed JaVale McGee, they were talking about his verticality, his ability to get up in the air, and the quote is, he changes the geometry of the game.
Well, Gumby changes the geometry of TV too. Stretch up there.
So I again, not going to hit you over the head with this stuff. I'm super excited. They lost the first game, the preseason game, but the preseason doesn't matter in terms of wins and losses because
then why are we talking about it so much?
Because it gave us flashes of what can be.
You've seen what flashes what it could be. We've seen LeBron teams for forever now.
But I've not ever seen LeBron on my team.
Yes, but so for you, it wasn't necessarily, you weren't surprised by what you saw because LeBron, I think, has ceased to surprise us when he plays amazing, no matter when or where he plays. But for you, it was just experiencing it on your team for the first time.
Yeah. Brandon Ingram looks like an all-star playing with LeBron James.
Yeah. So okay, what you're experiencing now, imagine the inverse of that, and that's what Cleveland is looking at right now.
Oh, what a dark, sad place that must be.
Right? They're like, okay, J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, score all our points.
Good thing they have Baker Mayfield.
On the football team.
On the football team.
Oh, by the way, he didn't fumble.
Yeah. Oh, and
No, Derek Carr did fumble. That's my bad. He did.
The Indians are in the playoffs, so we've got that to look forward to.
Hey, Cleveland sports.
Yeah. They're always relevant. No, but the Lakers play again tonight. In fact, the game starts in 5 minutes, so I don't even know why we're still talking.
So you turned off, you shut the playoff baseball off.
Yep.
So that we could finish our show. But you're going to finish the show early so you can watch preseason Lakers basketball.
Okay, is there a question there? That's yeah. I mean, is that rhetorical, or I mean, what are we talking about here, David?
This is my life for the next forever until LeBron James is off the Lakers. This is my life.
Well, then they're going to draft Bronny, and it's just going to keep going.
That's like 4 years away. I think LeBron is trying to rig everything so that they take away the rule that you have to know the one and done rule. He's gonna want that out of the league so that his son can be on his team before his body falls apart.
Can a robot's body fall apart? I
don't
guess
know.
if he's not oiled properly.
Well, let me ask Kawhi.
So I don't play the lotto. What about you, David?
Never have.
Yeah.
See, I grew up in Southern Nevada, so like gambling, I always knew like the casino was going to win. They control the math, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna win. So I'm kind of gambling averse.
Yeah,
Lotto feels like gambling.
Not a big fan of losing money, and the lotto just feels like a tax, right? Like why do I want to pay the state more money than I have to? Well, some people who play the lotto actually win, right?
That's the premise.
Good for them. But if you were to play the lotto, like how would you pick your numbers?
I would just pick random numbers because I
You
know
just
it's
do random.
Yeah, I know it's so random. I would just go in blank and just pick numbers.
Well, one guy had a foolproof, it turns out, strategy for picking his lotto numbers. He actually used the numbers that came on the back of his fortune cookie. So if you ever open your fortune inside a fortune cookie, it'll say like lucky numbers on the back.
Sure.
Well, this guy played his lucky numbers, and he ended up winning. He won $1 million, right? Good for him, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's not the crazy part of the story, right? He actually didn't even realize he won. He went to see the clerk because there was like a message when he did his ticket. It said "See clerk," right? So he goes, sees the clerk, and the clerk tells him, "Hey, you got $1 million. Let's fill out the forms." Apparently, the first thing you have to do when you become a millionaire is fill out his paperwork.
Talk about a buzzkill.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations, you're a millionaire. Sir, please sign here, put your name here, put your date of birth here.
So, Dave, if you just got $1 million, you went from no dollars to $1 million, like what would you do? Like what are the cool, crazy things you would do?
Oh, I would take a trip to Ireland and Scotland.
Okay.
I would either on boat, like I would do
Yeah.
one of those Atlantic cruises where you spend like 2 weeks on the boat crossing the Atlantic, go
Yeah.
to Ireland, Scotland. I would love that. That'd be so cool. And then I'd maybe do some other stuff in Europe. But I would definitely take a trip like that with my beautiful, lovely wife, who is more beautiful than Max Muncy's swing.
Yeah, I think all of us would do whatever that like cool fantasy we have, that fantasy trip, or
That
the
swing though.
the awesome toys that we've always wanted to get that we couldn't get. Like that would be at the top of the list.
Right.
Here's the craziest part of this story. All right, the guy who won said that he plans to use the money to pay off his house and other bills and put the rest into savings.
What are you doing?
What? This is the most responsible lottery winner of all time.
No, he should be investing that. Saving rates are garbage right now.
Where were you? You should have been a 7-Eleven clerk. So
I
that
should
you could
have
have
been.
helped this
I should
man.
have. Well, I kind of was. I was a teller at a bank.
Okay.
Kind of the same thing, apparently, except I never gave away money. I just took people's money. So
There you go.
I think there was more joy as a 7-Eleven lotto clerk.
So we may have the first instance ever of a responsible lotto winner. I'm excited to see how this story plays out. I'm sad. I'm a bit cynical, and I'm hoping I don't read in a few weeks about how all his money's gone and living on the streets.
Right, well, one thing's for sure. All of his former friends and like distant relatives suddenly are calling him up.
He's the most popular guy on his block right now.
Oh, for sure.